holistic health practitioner McNabb has compiled on his business page a group of short parables on love and relationship. After hearing the story of Eve and Adam from Genesis, I couldn't resist sharing this modern parable with you. Mullah Nasruddin was talking with a friend about his love life. I thought I had found the perfect woman, Mullah said. She was beautiful and had the most pleasing features a man could imagine. She was exceptional in every way, except she had no knowledge. So I decided to travel a little farther and met a woman who was both beautiful and intelligent, but alas, we couldn't communicate with each other. After further travel, I met a lady who had everything: the perfect mind, the perfect intelligence, great beauty, and all the features that I was looking for. But what happened? Asked the friend. Why didn't you marry her at once? Ah, Yola said, as luck would have it, she was looking for the perfect man. Genesis 3 is the passage in the Bible that has been used as the basis for the doctrine of original sin. It has been deliberated on through the centuries about whose fault sin was: the man, the woman's, the serpent's, how it happened, what it all means. In the end, Eve and Adam and serpent are not found to be perfect. The Oxford Annotated New Revised Standard Version of the Bible comments, through this story, is often taken by Christians as an account of original sin. The word sin never occurs in the story. Instead, it describes how the maturing of humans into civilized life involved the damage of the connections established in the creation story, the connections between God, man, woman, and earth. Through Lent, we will be asked to enter wonderful and daunting stories from the Hebrew Scriptures. The stories confront themes that so often humans ignore and prefer not to contemplate. We will be asked to contemplate right and wrong, blessings and cursings, life and death. The text will have us pondering our humanity and what that means for our relationships, and the relationships involved in being a human. In past generations and past interpretations, today's story so often dissolves into arguments about sin, missing further learnings to be gathered from the richness found within the text. Much to my pleasure, I read a line of commentary that allowed me to ponder the story in a new way. The commentary summed up the story of Eve and Adam and the serpent, saying this: human beings were formed with great care to be in relationship with Creator, creation, and one another. The serpent's promise to the first couple that their eyes would be opened led, ironically, to the discovery only that they were naked. Think about that for just a moment. Eve and Adam ate fruit from the tree of knowledge, and they only realized that they were naked. That is all. What I find interesting is what happens next. And perhaps this is the first sin, as this seems so human to me. Eve and Adam chose to judge the nakedness, and it is judged as bad as they begin to sew fig leaves together to cover themselves. What I also find interesting is, and perhaps is in competition beside judging to be the first sin, that the new knowledge is all about them, all about me. It is applied directly to themselves. The information is used in a self-serving way and separates the body, the person, from the intimate experiences that they have had of the world around them to this point. This applied knowledge has introduced a visible boundary in relationships. There's a layer of protection between the man and the woman, between humans and creation, between Creator and the creatures. Judging and separation are not the only sins in competition for the first sin. Perhaps the story has a variant ending. What if the first couple, eating the forbidden fruit, had risked opening their eyes a little further? Was there a possibility of discovering, of knowing, of intuiting, of grasping the ultimate importance and godliness of recognizing the needs of others, of daring to enter and encounter and experience intimate relationships with partners, with creation, with Creator? Could the first couple have chosen not to get stuck in the tidbit of being naked and rather embrace a larger consciousness? Could they not have been inundated with kindness, a will to be an expression of kindness with those around them? This past week, the message on the church sign on Windsor Street changed. For the season of Lent, the sign dictates to the neighborhood, forget fasting, indulge in kindness. This phrase came about one night when I was dreaming about what I would put in the sign. I was pondering Lent and Lenten practice, considering what I would find beneficial as a direction for the season. I figured whatever words I needed to hear, that they might also be words that someone else needed to hear. Lent is a season that reflects on sin and temptation. Starting this past Wednesday at Ash Wednesday service, we heard that we are dust, and to dust we shall return. We were reminded that we sin. If you're questioning this, take a few moments after worship and read through the confession on page 253 in the front of the hymn book, part of the Ash Wednesday service. You will see we have all sinned. The call that comes to sinners in Lent is to turn from sin and return to the Lord our God, to see and to hear that the Lord is good, and that God's steadfast love endures forever, that God is gracious and merciful, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. It is from this pondering that the sign's phrase made sense to me. Forget fasting, indulge in kindness. I, like Eve and Adam, don't do so well when asked not to do something. When I think of fasting, I think about everything that I'm not allowed to eat or drink or do. My mind and my heart become occupied in being perfect and keeping the rule that I set, and I lose the point of the fast in the first place. To draw closer in relationship with creation, the giver of food. To grow in relationship with the farmer, the provider of the food. To grow in relationship with siblings who have no food, who need my food. To spend more time in prayer and reflection rather than eating, to increase my relationship with God. But when I'm told not to do it, it's all I can think about doing. So the dictate to the community, forget fasting, indulge in kindness, is not suggesting that one refrain from doing wrong or try to be perfect. Rather, the incentive is for one to concentrate and focus on actively working to be kind. Shifting the focus from a negation point of view to a view focused on a positive virtue. It completely changes one's attitude, and thus my human willingness to participate. Perhaps it's my years spent in Christian community. I see the practice of indulging in kindness as the counterpoint to original sin. The fullness of kindness lacks the sin of judgment, the sin of separation, the sin of not risking enough by stopping at our own threshold and not opening up to the world beyond. For the next 40 days, I invite you to join me and indulge in kindness. In the literature from Alcoholics Anonymous, kindness is named as essential for working through the 12 steps of the program. AA material states that to be kind is to be in service of those who are in need. One can do a kind act for self-serving purposes. But this is not kindness, and is of no help to the person who's doing the act. If I use one word to describe the 12 steps of an anonymous program, I would say that the theme is relationship. Kindness is a virtue of the heart, and when applied, one sees need, and need is found everywhere, especially in our relationships. For the next 40 days, I invite you to join with me and to indulge in kindness. CatholicStrength.com says that kindness is a virtue which lifts the spirits, touches hearts of the people we encounter in our lives. When kindness is amplified by grace, theologians call it an infused or supernatural virtue gifted to us in baptism. And when that virtue of kindness becomes part of our very nature, perfecting us in grace, it is a manifestation of the fruit of the Holy Spirit. We have been perfected in grace through the waters of baptism. As we have drowned sin, been washed and risen with Christ, God's grace continues to flow through us. God works through our very lives when we choose to stop living first sins. That is, to fast from judging and to stop looking at ourselves, our nakedness, our lack of whatever, and rather to risk opening ourselves to the world around us, to drop barriers that separate us from the intimate experiences and relationships that we are called to in the very beginning, in the connections established in the creation story between God and man, woman, and creature, and earth. For the next 40 days, I invite you to join with me and indulge in kindness. Creator God, when tempted to eat forbidden fruit, turn us from sin. Infuse us with courage to practice the risky business of opening our hearts to the world around us. Give us the grace to indulge in kindness. Let an abundance of compassion overflow and overwhelm our neighborhoods. Flood the world with lavish love. May this season of Lent gush with grace that lifts spirits and touches hearts. In your name we pray.